Hi, this is Mark with my analysis for the week commencing the 21st of May. Now, we had an awesome 10 days, and the last 7-8 days I have managed to make 1 month's profit in 4 trades. I shared them all with you the other day, and I've gone through each of the steps. We started on the 9th of May in the live training session. I talked about the Aussie CAD and the dollar yen again, and we'd done well on that the weeks before. And then over the following 3-4 days, I was showing you how we got into the dollar yen and the Aussie CAD, just missed the CAD, and it went 300 pips. Welcome to Forex. I also talked about focus on the entries. My entries are my edge. The strength that makes me successful is my entries, and my entries are based on multiple reasons for the entry, the stop, and the target. We'll have a look at that in a moment. Final ones then. So then I showed you during the week how to manage those trades. I was moving stops. I took some profits off some of the pairs because I didn't want it to come back and take me out. So now we've got a month's profit in a week again. There's 2 scenarios for traders here. One scenario is the alpha male says, okay, I am now going to go on and I want to win 10% this month. The more conservative is me, because my thinking is this: when I'm trading for clients on $1 million account, we've just made 50,000 profit in the last week. The client knows we've made 50,000. We know we've made 50,000. They're going to get a substantial amount. We're going to get a substantial amount. Everybody's happy. If I carry on taking things aggressively, then by the end of the month, I run the risk of losing some or all of the gains, at which point the client's fed up and I'm fed up. So for me, this week, I am going to be ultra cautious. I will show you some setups that I think are A/B grade trades, and some setups that would be things that I would normally do on a daily 4-hour basis and wait for price to come into an area and watch it. But that's my philosophy. For the week ahead, I am going to be very careful. Now, last week with the news, we had mixed news coming out of the US, Canada, and well, everybody really. The UK unemployment was higher than expected. The average earnings for the previous month were revised down. That was the pound. Canadian dollar, we looked as though we had some positives with CPI and then some negatives. US retail sales came out worse than expected. And retail sales is really important in the US because that helps their GDP clearly. Common CPI in Canada. Remember, Forex Factory is still putting increased inflation down as a positive, and clearly it's a negative. So I'd say it was all mixed last week. The main thing now is to think about what's coming for the week ahead. So the week ahead, Monday is a bank holiday in Canada, so the Canadian dollar could be sluggish. We've got flash manufacturing for Europe and the pound and the US, and they've got it here as red flag, so we need to pay attention to that. Big one for the New Zealand dollar on Wednesday, so this is early morning for the European time zone. Be careful, because they predicted that it's expected they're going to raise rates by 5.5%. If they don't, or if they raise it by more, or if they say something in the statement or the press conference afterwards, that could rock the New Zealand dollar. So for me, if I'm in any New Zealand dollar trades, I will make sure the stops to entry or I will get out. And then you've got the pound. Okay, Bailey's talking, Yellen's talking, FOMC meeting minutes. These are just, we had the FOMC last week, so you've got already, you know what they've said. This is the minutes from the actual meeting. Shouldn't rock the boat, but you never know. US then Thursday, preliminary GDP quarter on quarter, really important again, as well as the unemployment claims. Finally on Friday you got core PCE, so tiptoe around that. I have recorded this video on Saturday morning, so you need to keep up with the news. If anything extraordinary happens over the next 36 hours, then that could revise my plan. So let's have a look at the charts now. These were the winning trades from last week. This was an almost perfect entry down here, and again, it's in one of the previous videos. So price had pulled back into here. We had a small stop. My main initial target was here, 400 pips away, which it made. And why? Well, because that was a multiple, triple, double, quadruple top. If it was going to stop anywhere, we thought there. It did go through a bit and then promptly came back down. I do want to get back into this. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Euro pound went absolutely nowhere all week. I was in here, I caught it right at the bottom, which was good, but it just couldn't get past these EMAs. So look, notice here, 55 EMA now for 5-6 days has been in control. I want this to break out one way or the other, but for now I'm leaving it alone. New Zealand yen, another one. This was almost to the pip entry, and this was, I started looking for this back up here. Initially this was, I think, 78.6 fib. You had the 200 EMA on the 4 hour. You also had it on the weekly, the daily. There was everything going on here. This one, I have the balance of this trade still running, and that is currently 285 pips in profit. Was 330. I've taken most of the profit off, and I moved the stop up here to protect the balance of it. Final one was the Aussie CAD, and again I took 80% of the profit off here because this was the bottom and it previously bounced off it before, so it was probably going to do it again. I moved the stop here for the final 20%. It didn't quite take me out on Friday, so at the minute I'm still in here. I'm hoping this is going to keep going down here, but if it takes me out, not a problem. We've already made the money for the month. So for the week ahead, dollar index. So we had this significant break on a weekly the other week, and I showed you this was a triangle pattern that was 1500 pips potentially. What's it's done? It stopped to the pip at the 55 EMA on a weekly, and just above that on the daily we have the 200 EMA. So now there is a danger that the dollar is just going to bobble along in here. If it can break through here, we could be back on for 110 on this, and that would make things a lot easier because then all we need to do is buy the dollar and sell everything else. But for the week ahead, it could be choppy again. Gold, I showed you the other month. We had MACD divergence on the weekly. We had a triple double top at the here. If it was going to stop anywhere, it was probably going to stop there. I am looking to buy gold down here. If the dollar goes up, then gold will go down, and I will be looking to buy in again starting at 1900 and particularly down here 1800 once again. Silver, similarly, we had the move up. I got in, cost averaged in, as you recall, around 21 I think it was, and again we had a triangle break on this. I would start to be interested on silver 22.80, but particularly 22 and anywhere in here. Bitcoin is drifting at the moment. Money's going back into the dollars, come out of Bitcoin. If a US bank tanks, another one goes, then I think Bitcoin could go on a major run. So I am happy to keep holding my Bitcoin. Ethereum is trapped between these EMAs again. Notice this is why I use them. So on to Forex. USD Swissy, we had MACD divergence on the weekly, was a clue that price would bounce back up. Didn't take this because we know where for the stop. Remember, we need multiple reasons for the stop. So I said to folks, the best thing to do when the dollar index bounced like this on the Swissy, short the euro up here, because then we had the 200 EMA, we had 110, which is where it bounced off repeatedly last year when it was dropping, and from a stop point of view you could either be aggressive just above the 200 or conservative pushing it 90 pips here, but I have the target was down here 400 pips away. Now I have a buy-in at the moment here from last week. You shouldn't leave orders in over the weekend, but I will watch this on a daily. Again, I'm going to be mega cautious this week, but you've got the 200 EMA, you've got a trend line, you've got the 55 EMA weekly coming in here as well. So if it's going to bounce anywhere, I am thinking it's probably going to bounce here. It's also the whole number, so I go 10 pips above. I have the stop just down here below the 78.6. I am risking 68 pips for a potential 300, possibly 370. Pound, no idea. It just keeps bobbling around. I have nowhere for the stop. Yes, it bounced off the 55 last week, but I don't have multiple reasons. The euro is a better bet for me. AUD is stuck in a range. Once again, you could be buying at the bottom of the range, but nowhere for the stop. I certainly wouldn't take it this week because, as I said, I need to hang on to what I've already made. Here is clearly an area of interest. So this is a weekly, 6,800. Can we find multiple reasons for the stop? So at 6,800, just below, we have the daily 200. We have major previous support and resistance. Keep your eye on iron ore prices for the Aussie dollar because they dropped the other week. Copper is also down. So I would be interested to short the AUD up here with the stop above the whole number and the 55 EMA. New Zealand dollar. New Zealand dollar is trickier because I only want to sell the New Zealand dollar, and like the other week it bounced to the pip off the trend line, but once again I'm struggling for the multiple reasons, and I really don't like it when price is in the middle of a bunch of EMAs. I would be far more interested in this if it broke and closed up here, and particularly more so if it was to drop. The danger is if it drops like last time, it may well only get to here, so not the best opportunity for me. Dollar yen, I showed you earlier, we had a mega trade on this last week. Now it's miles away from anything for the stop. So for me, the only way I would even think about trading this would be to look onto a 4-hour. Now on a 4-hour chart, I don't really pay attention to fibs until we get down to the 50, 61 and 78.6. An area of interest, I won't be taking this, but an area of interest for those on your 4-hour would be 136.60. More interesting would be down here, 35.25, and one of those that under normal circumstances I would probably split the order in half here and half here. Euro pound, I've shown you earlier, it's stuck in between these EMAs. I have no idea where this is going next. I have no potential reward to calculate versus risk. Move on, leave it alone. New Zealand yen, again, one that we're 300 pips up on the balance from last week. First area to start to look is 86, but again, you don't have multiple reasons for the stop, even here on the 4-hour chart. So realistically for me, I would start to get interested down around 84.30. Aussie CAD, I would be interested in the Aussie CAD again to short at 90.70, maybe split it in half, 90.57, 90.50 for part of it, and the other up here. USD CAD, I have had orders in. This was the one I missed the other week. The blooming thing went 250 pips. It did actually hit my order line, but because of the spread with news, it didn't get filled, and it was the same on my live account as well. So boo-hoo, 250, 300 pips there, it went. I've shown you there's a lot of Canadian news, so I am going to be very wary, again for reasons explained. But if it's going to bounce anywhere, 133.40, I would be interested. I will watch this. If it gets down here to 130.70, then I would be more interested. So if we get a negative US dollar or a positive Canadian news extraordinary and it spikes down, that would be the area I would be interested in. Pound New Zealand, I had an order in last few weeks, it's drifted and drifted. An aggressive one here would be on the 200 EMA. Previous major support and resistance, 200 EMA, 55 EMA in an uptrend, clear uptrend. So that would be an area of interest for that one. Similarly, the pound Aussie, they're correlated, so don't take them all at once. But here, I would be looking to place the order here, and then for the stop, 60, 70 pips away down here, but a potential to 1 to 10, 12 risk reward. That is one I would consider taking. Pound Swissy, I had an order in last week here, didn't get there. The main order would be all the way up here, and in actual fact I would need to start revising this one, bringing this further down. I wouldn't take this on a forward order on my own account, but it is the area to watch. Pound CAD, so you've got the pound Aussie, the pound New Zealand, pound CAD, all very similar, so don't take them all at the same time, and don't take the Canadian one when all the Canadian news is coming out, unless it plummets down to this area. Okay, Euro Aussie, very similar pattern. Euro CAD, you get the picture. So the only other one that's of interest to me would be the CAD yen. The CAD yen does tick the boxes in that you have 100 whole number, very big area. You have a weekly trend line, you have a daily 200 EMA intersecting, you've got 61.8 fib coming up behind. So I will be watching this one. And as ever, if it's a whole number, I always go 10 pips above for a long and 10 below for the short. So I would be in here. And then in terms of stops, you could either be conservative, well, really conservative down here, but I don't like to go more than 70 pips really on the stop. But that would be the more conservative one. Or took the stop in here, 70 pips risk, potential 1 to 5 risk reward, possible 1 to 10, 12 risk reward. So that one does interest me. Okay, I hope that you caught some of the trades from the last few weeks. Ashley also had a good pound CAD he shared with folks in the live session last week and in the forum. He made 112 pips on that as well, and some of the other private clients of mine who I have trained also had a good week as well. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.